Testing, testing. Wow, it is hot up here, very hot up here. Okay. There I was, sitting in a classroom with 25 other students, feeling antsy, but for the first time in a long time, I was feeling hopeful and even a little excited. It's the beginning of my last semester of my criminology and justice degree. And I'd done a bridge program, so the first 2 years at college in police foundations, which was mostly me and literally one other girl and a bunch of power-hungry bros. Yeah, I realized pretty quickly wasn't the career path for me. I'm good. And having come from college, bridging over to university, I had high hopes. I was thinking classes would be more interesting, better teachers, a better experience overall. But unfortunately, it was the same. Sitting in an auditorium, looking at slides filled with words, being talked at, and trying to remember just enough that I would be able to pass the exam, knowing I was going to forget it all right after. Looking around like, did I really drop $30K for this? And at this point, I knew I didn't want to become a cop. I didn't want to be a lawyer either, but I had also learned enough to know that I couldn't change the system. So I felt lost. But on the bright side, I've learned that my next class is with Professor G. Now, I'm nervous because I heard she was really strict. And I saw her walking around the halls, and she was different than the other profs. Yeah. The other profs, they were, how do I put this? Miskeen. Miskeen is an Arabic word that, if I were to translate to you, literally means, oh, poor you. And that was that. I mean, they would walk around with coffee stains, kind of shuffle around, kind of going through the motions. But Prof G was nothing like that. And I was intrigued. She was this woman in her late 50s. Beautiful face that looked like it was full of stories. Spiky gray hair cut to perfection. She wore matching suit sets, beautiful intricate jewelry, and always had a nice heel on. She also had these piercing blue eyes that always were behind her designer frames. And when she walked around, she held her head high, like she walked with purpose, and there was nothing miskeen about it. So, finally, I'm sitting in the front when she walks in for our first class. Puts her stuff down and says, "Welcome to advanced justice. Before I say another word, let's cover the ground rules." And I'm like, okay. It's like Fight Club. And I'm listening because I want her to like me, honestly. I'm like very intrigued. So she says, rule 1, never interrupt. If you're gonna talk, raise your hand. But most importantly, I don't wanna see your cell phone. I don't wanna hear your cell phone. And do not be a minute late to my classes. You don't have to like me, but you will respect me. And you will learn in this class, and you will leave with a different perspective. And I'm thinking, let's go. I've been starving for some kind of impactful educational experience by this point. And she wasn't wrong. Instead of talking at us, droning out facts, she spins everything into a story. We're mostly talking about addiction in this class. And with each fact and each new piece of information, she'd give us an example, break it down, and then relate it to our lives. Because up until now, honestly, I thought about myself and the people I know, and then criminals, right? But she showed me this could be someone I know. This could be me. So she's asking us questions, getting our opinion, and she's actually listening. And, I feel kind of important and valued as a student, which you don't often feel. And for the first time in 4 years, I was excited to go to class. I was looking forward to class. And I'm paying attention, and I'm putting my hand up. And again, I want to impress her. Now, this actually starts to ripple out, right? Because now I'm engaging more in all of my other classes. And I'm feeling reignited in why I took this program. One afternoon, Prof G comes in and says, okay, we've got our next project. I don't believe in just teaching in the classroom. So what I'd like you to do is go to a Narcotics Anonymous or an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. Sit in the back, be present, be respectful, and listen. And then write me a reflection essay. Okay? All right. So I decide, okay, I'm going to go to an AA meeting. And I was in university, so naturally alcohol is literally everywhere. And leading up to this, I was a bit nervous. I was like, oh God, is this gonna be like a bunch of dudes in a church basement? Like, I don't know what to expect here. And as I make my way down the stairs, a lady approaches me and she says, hey, come on in, welcome, with a huge smile. And everyone's catching up with one another, and it honestly feels like a big warm hug in there. And the people, they're from every age, every demographic, different walks of life. And they're talking about the 12 steps. Someone says they relapsed last week, while someone else is getting their 10-year sobriety pin. And as they're telling these stories about alcohol, I start to think, wait, this is kind of how I am with food. Like every night, I'm using a bag of chips as a comfort crutch. And I start to see myself in these individuals. And I feel two things deeply. One is that I'm not alone, ever. Because there's always going to be supportive community everywhere. And two is I know I can never look at someone dealing with addictions or unhoused because of addictions the same way ever again. Because everyone has their thing, right? But different circumstances. It might be TV for you. It might be, food for me. It could be our phones. I think we can all relate to that. But at the end of the day, we all kind of have an addiction of some kind. So this experience gives me compassion for everyone, for strangers, for those boring professors, my parents, and even more compassion for myself. And it's helping me understand myself in a way I wasn't capable of before. Now let's fast forward. It's a sunny morning in April, and I'm sitting in Prof G's classroom, feeling heavy, but a little excited, because it's our last class, and I don't want it to end. She promised us this one was gonna be extra special. So I show up on time, obviously. I was always early to her classes. And as I walk in, there are two people sitting there. Never seen them before. One is a gentleman, maybe in his 30s, bald, glasses, and he had the kindest eyes I'd ever seen. Next to him is a beautiful woman with wavy blonde hair, wearing a long skirt and rope bracelets. She was very much giving hippie vibes. I loved it. And then Prof G walks in, sits behind them, and says, "Okay, everyone, today we have two guest speakers. I'm going to let them introduce themselves." Now the man starts first, and he says, "My name is James, and I'm a recovering cocaine addict. I'm here to tell my story." And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, we're gonna get to ask him questions about things we've learned about in this class. Oh my gosh. Whew. And the woman says, "I'm Elizabeth. I work at a needle exchange facility in BC." James tells us his story. He'd never experienced any kind of addiction before. And he started taking cocaine with friends when he wanted to go out and fit in, right? He'd always struggled a bit with confidence, though. And now it felt like he had a superpower. But then he started taking it alone. It became daily. He's now asking his family for money, hiding it. And one day he's driving so high that he almost gets into an accident and kills someone. And through this and through the problems he had experienced, he decides, you know what? I'm finally going to get clean for good this time. And he says, "It's truly, truly something I'll always be recovering from." And it hits home for me that everyone is fighting a battle that we don't know about. Then Elizabeth talks about being a needle exchange supervisor, how she's made lifelong friends with people who struggle with addiction, how she's seen people's lives fall apart and come back together, and how we need harm reduction, because we might not be able to eliminate drugs, but if we can reduce the chances of bad drugs in the system, then we can reduce the chance of overdose, right? And then we're giving people a fighting chance to turn their lives around, like James. So afterwards, we got to ask questions, and somebody put their hand up and asked James, "How did you end up feeling confident without the cocaine?" And he says, "Well, kicking it is the hardest thing I have ever been through. And the fact that I made it out alive is all the confidence I need." And then Prof G turns to us and says, "Okay, class is over, and that's the end of our course." And she's talking, and I feel hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And it's like I have this rubber ball lumped in my throat. And I'm feeling emotional, thinking, I don't want this to end. I want everyone to feel a part of what this was. And I wish I could bottle it up and give it to people. The ball has now migrated down to my chest, and it feels heavy. And I'm devastated, but also I'm in utter awe of this woman's eloquence and her ability to move us every single class, every moment. And I think she told us it would be different. And she sure kept her promise. That ball drops into my stomach and unravels, and it's full of all these different nerve endings opening up. And though I'm sad, I'm so motivated to take this knowledge and share it and do something with it. Now that's damn good teaching. She's done speaking, and we're all clapping. We start slowly packing up, and suddenly, she takes 2 steps towards the door, and then she stops, looks around, looks at us, looks at the guest speakers, looks back at us, and she says, "By the way, those are my kids. That's my son, and that's my daughter." Whew. Our mouths hanging open at this point, and that ball's now in my stomach, and it has exploded. And every single hair on my entire body stands up. And I'm thinking back through everything she said, all of the examples that she gave, and how she took us through this experience with such deep passion. She wanted to make sure that we didn't just understand the concepts of criminology. She wanted us to understand her family, and the pain that addiction can cause. The real experience of what it means. So I stand up and walk over to her, and I say, "Hey, Prof G, thank you. Thank you not just for this course, but thank you for changing the way I view the world. Thank you for your vulnerability. And thank you for changing my life." And she looks back at me, smirks, and she says, "Perla, don't let this die in this classroom. Continue to use it. Tell people." And so here I am.